Gender ideology has completely derailed our family's teenage years. I grieve for the actual teenage years my children could have had. I grieve for the years taken up having to learn exactly what it means for my family and our family, for my children and our family, and how we as their parents should parent. I think, along with their dead name, their teenage years would have been way more interesting in a fun way, and we would have parented them as we always had, in an attachment parenting way with gentle, supportive guidance. We didn't know then what was happening. We couldn't see it for being loving and supportive parents that we were just always being. And don't get me wrong, it started off fun and interesting. There was pride marches, there was badges, there was posters, there was music, and there was flags. There was so many flags. Some of them turned out to be Le Manberg from the musical, but by that time, when that one arrived and I'd done a bit of research, I was just too scared to ask what they were. It took me a while to find a casual, non-committal way of asking what it meant without an argument or a lecture or an eye roll or whatever. Talk of sexuality and gender at the dinner table for months. All 96 of them. There were lots. We cycled through so many, my head was spinning. I was also becoming suspicious. Then lockdown happened. I started hugely researching, and I, a lifelong radical alternative woman and also a feminist, did not like what I was learning. No one would listen or even get why I was suddenly such an utter raving loon on the issue, obsessed. I soon learned that I was about to peak, and I was a TERF. Something at the time I thought was a bit much, as I'd still not fully comprehended at the time the true and insidious dangers. I didn't want to exclude anyone. I'm not denying anyone's existence. We're still a loving, supportive parents, but I regret not realizing what was going on sooner, and perhaps my vulnerable, impressionable children would have had the normal amount of cranky teenage years full of fun, confusion, mayhem, trauma, and excitement, instead of the self-loathing, harming, anger, and hatred. When I could tell you more about how we compromised. We dealt with a compromise of name changes, the unknown to us pronoun changes, the mood changes, all the changes, what we've lost and what we've gained. When, after all the support and information and discussions, it became clear that things were not improving at home, we compromised under massive pressure about the innocuousness of it all to allow them to use their names at school. It was pitched to us as an also known as type clause, like a nickname. To be honest, I don't think it helped. It made them a target and created more bullying. Meanwhile, we were trying to find support for our self-harming, depressed, confused, suicidal children. Over the years, they have had mental health risk assessments, once had an anxiety workshop and counselling, all with CAMS. The other is awaiting a diagnosis for ASD, which could take 4 years. We started family therapy with a view to creating a space for us all to be able to communicate and live with our differing opinions within the family home. But again, little did we know, ideology has truly taken a stronghold at CAMS, and before we knew it, we were slammed into a social services wall. We were expecting support and wisdom. Instead, we got personal unprofessionalism after being lured into a trusting therapeutic bond. They reported us to social services for not affirming our eldest's he, him pronouns, even though, according to us, she was a they, them, and she'd never mentioned a he, him thing. We heard from them after 5 months, but it was a really difficult time. We all have our own counsellors. We barely talk about anything gender, sex, or trans in the house. There's a giant heffalump festering in the corner that nobody wants to touch. We're tired, we're done in. I think we're all just trying to learn to love each other again, opinions and all. My hope is we will eventually come out the other side of this somewhat intact. They still won't talk to me about any of it. I used to try to talk to them about it all the time, telling them we loved them no matter what, but this ideology wasn't right. It isn't helpful, and they are not born in the wrong body. I send occasional articles about the dangers of biding, but I get total silence from both of my children. this whole situation, and basically I get called a TERF. Um, it's sorry. I thank God every day that my 16-year-old's ambition for becoming 16 was just to buy a Monster energy drink. It's my 14-year-old that worries me the most, that the most harm has come to just for being gender non-conforming to social stereotypes. One that told her she was all wrong inside herself, and being a teenage girl, she took it straight to her heart like a poisoned arrow. An arrow that splintered into all of our hearts. I wrote a wee poem. This seems to be a poem day, so I'm going to read mine, if I can find it. When they took your sparkle and twisted your mind, we were holding your heart and helping you find yourself is just right the way you are. I wish you could see your worth so far. So many questions, nothing makes sense. We are flailing, we are falling, we are strong, stable bases. We are your reality, we are your family, we are your light guiding your soul. Who will sweep up the glitter when they all go home?